I would be remiss if I did not share the signature story of Respite. So I told y'all that we started with 14 volunteers and we started this whole Respite movement. Now we've got 20, y'all are, I think, number 27 or 28, I've lost count of programs that we've started, but it all started with 2 people living with dementia. And notice I say living with dementia. I want every one of you, I think when I came here to preach one Sunday, I told you, get rid of the word suffering. Because nobody wants to go home and suffer the next 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years that you can live with this disease. So we're all living with something, as we've talked about, right? So let's just say I had 2 friends living with dementia and I had 14 volunteers. We had a big fella named Jack that came in one day. He was about 6'2", 6'3". He was the head of a chemical incinerator in Anniston, Alabama, where I'm from. His wife did not want to leave him with a kid and a bunch of volunteers that she didn't know, right? He was the head of this chemical thing. He was brilliant. He was living with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. He could barely communicate. I did not know if we were going to be able to keep Jack. However, Mary said, I really want to stay. I want to help him get to know y'all. So she stayed for 2 weeks. And Mary was very fretful. She was all over him the whole time. And so finally, one of our volunteers, unbeknownst to me, goes out in the hallway and she says, Mary, you've got to go. My mom had Alzheimer's. My dad had Parkinson's. We've got this. You need a break. You need to go. And so Mary came back in the room, and all of us were in there. I think there was like 4 friends living with dementia and about 12 of us volunteers. Everybody's huddled around. Jack's over there talking, and Mary comes in and says, Jack, I love you. I love you. I love you, and I'm going to be back at 2 o'clock. I'm not deserting you. I'm coming back. I'm just leaving for a minute. And she is just weeping, crying, and we're all just dug in. We're just watching it in slow motion, and I just love you so much. And that big old fella turns around, and he looks right at her, and he goes, goodbye. And we all just froze. But you see, in that very moment, we realized that he needed a break from her. He needed the respite for her. Yes, we start this ministry for a caregiver to get a break. But when we find out what we can do and how we can transform the life of that person living with dementia and give them a break from the disease, give them a break from a strung out caregiver who's now got 2 cars to deal with, the lawn to deal with, all the bills to deal with, 2 dentist appointments to deal with, 2 doctors. Everything is doubled in the middle of the most challenging part of your life. They're going to be strung out. Jack needed us, right? That story is twofold because Mary came back that day at 2 and we were so excited. And in all my marketing, I had put, caregivers can take a break, go shopping, have lunch, do what you need to do. She came back in and I said, Mary, what'd you do? Did you go have lunch with your girls? And she gave me the biggest hug and she said, oh, dear one. I went home, I took off my clothes, I put on my bathrobe, and I was alone with my thoughts and a cup of coffee for the first time in 3 years. Because any time I've ever had a break, it was with a sitter coming in to sit, and I always had to leave. She said, you will never know what a blessing it is for me to just be in my home for a couple of hours by myself. What a blessing. That's what we represent. We're giving community. We're providing space. Everybody needs a break. We're not built to be together 24/7, disease or no disease. We all need our own groups. And so when we're living with a challenge, it means we need people to be intentional. Every one of you are intentional about showing up, so that's what it represents.